one of the casualties of putting the new roof on was this deck. We actually had a pergola on top of it, and we had to take that down because the original roof didn't have any overhangs. I'm wanting to get started on the raised beds, so it's getting dark too early, so I'm taking the boards in, putting them upstairs. I got a saw up there already. It's actually almost easier to take the boards to the saw than it is to bring the saw down to the boards, so that's what I'm up to. Got the wood here for the raised beds. Got the saw up there on the wall. Got to do a little cleanup in here. We got some work to do. The project I'm working on right now is actually part of the raised beds. I just made two. I can't see that one very well with the sun and all coming through the door. If you can see right there, I just made a sawhorse. There's another one over by the door. I actually got that design idea from Living Traditions, and then I actually made mine so that it would mimic the height of my chop saw and the table that I have, or the portable stand I have for that. So right now what I'm working on is I have these gray boards here. We had a pergola on our deck. It became a casualty because the roof, the overhangs, made it impossible for the pergola to stay where it was at, and it was easier and more timely to cut it off than it was to try to move the whole deck, which would have been the other option. So what we're going to do is repurpose that wood for some raised garden beds, because that's something that's been on our hearts lately. Is kind of making our own food and growing our own food. And I've always enjoyed it. I kind of grew up on a homestead. I did a lot of 4-H stuff with gardening and rabbits and woodworking and stuff like that growing up. So, but right now I'm working on just cutting a square end on these boards. Trying to actually get a measurement from the very end up to this point, and then squaring this end. And then when we get ready to put things together, we'll decide what to do to the other end. The other end actually has a decorative beveled thing. At one time both ends had it, but because of the roof going on, we actually cut the one side off before we figured out that we was just going to have to take the whole thing off. Now I kind of wish we would have taken the whole thing off to begin with, but you know what they say, hindsight, go figure. So the reason you see me flip that around is because only one side of that piece that I call my template is a factory edge. And a factory edge are almost always perfect square. So that's why you see me flipping the template piece around, so that I'm marking with the straightest edge of that piece. Also, there are other ways to cut this stuff. There's a tool called a nibbler. There's a tool called a shear. Now a shear you can pick up for $60. A nibbler is about $300, but they are super awesome. The only problem with either one of those is they actually cut a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch strip out, and you have to notch the piece so if you can see this edge is up. This is what locks onto this edge, which has a little niche in it. And so in order to use a nibbler or one of the power shears, you would have to actually cut a notch through those, because it'll only cut the flat part of this metal, which is through here, and then it doesn't, it's not able to cut through these notches because they don't open up wide enough. Now, a nibbler actually works really good on a regular corrugated metal that has the ribs that go like this throughout the whole thing. But this is what they call a hidden seam piece of metal. So the screw tabs are here, and then this side of the next piece snaps onto this ridge, and then you don't see those screws, and that's what makes it nicer. You don't have to worry about your screws or your nails or your rubber grommets rusting or rotting or peeling off and then ultimately leaving you leaking. So just wanted to clarify with that. Some people have said, oh, just use a saw. Actually, if you look at roofing and its warranties, a saw, they coat these with a zinc coating, which keeps them from rusting. It keeps them, their long-term ability to stay nice and pretty. And when you heat that up, which happens with a grinder or a skill saw of any kind, it'll actually void your warranty because it melts that zinc oxide coating that they put on there, and then it allows your panel to rust. And they say that it doesn't take a very long time for that to start to occur. What I've done is I took some 2x2 pieces that were also part of the pergola. I put these in as like a ladder because the metal will attach to that. So I'll line that first piece up with the top. Get it where I want it here. Put a couple screws in it. Put the next piece on, lock it into place. Line it up with the top. snap it in. If you need to move it up a little bit, you can actually just tap the end of it. It'll slide. And then I'll grab my next ladder bar. Get that ready. Put a mark in there, and before I can go any further, gotta change the battery. Alright. Probably be a little easier with 2 screw guns. I actually got these 2 panels done. Hi guys, it's dark out. I'm trying to put some videos together. Realized it's gonna take a couple videos to get to where we want to be with our raised garden beds. So stay tuned. The next one, the part 2, I get a little more detailed about putting the long panels together, and then we'll probably have a part 3 that'll be some finish work, setting. We got to order some materials and wait on that to come in before we can even film that part. And then the weather will probably be a little bit of a factor in that, so stay tuned for the rest of the garden bed. Part 2 will be coming at you real soon. If you like what you see, like, subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.